It will be recording
Right
on
now?
DVD,
Okay.
but YouTube, I don't know what their status is with that.
Okay.
We're getting captioning supposedly.
Okay.
I gotta get these monitors turned on,
Okay.
and we'll start with that. I don't know if whether people, if the moderators. I'll just, yeah, because we can't even dial in until 11:45 for that.
We can start, because I think this room is taken at 12:30.
Okay.
All right, so I guess.
Well, no, the room is good till 1.
Or is it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's booked. I'm good. Yeah, I had a copy, I just showed Rich the calendar.
So nobody has this room at 12:30?
Yeah.
So we should start at, you said we should start at noon?
Well, I because nobody on the outside, nobody on the outside is gonna hear you anyway.
You may want to tell people.
One of our meetings at
We're
work.
on YouTube, but that's, so if you
Sometimes
want
help
people.
to
We can see.
okay, when
Yeah.
food is back.
Ready to go? Yeah, I'll clear the projectors.
Um,
So we get a whole coat. And then no, take care. I mean, you come with the manual and say,
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Goke
Did y'all
Taiwo.
hear her, the moderator?
I don't know, but the closed caption will be fixed. It's just about to. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Goke Taiwo. I'm with the Office of Equal Opportunity and Civil Rights. I'll first of all like to apologize for the late start because we had a challenge with the closed captioning, so we had to kind of wait. If we started without that on YouTube streaming, individuals with with disability cannot actually read this, so we had to actually wait for that. So I'm sorry about that. So on behalf of OEOCR and OHC, I'd like to welcome you to this webinar today titled Becoming a Team Player in the Workplace. Through this workshop, participants will learn how to keep the big picture in view, develop a cohesion through team development, determine team strategies, and take action to improve person effectiveness. Hello, can everybody please mute their phones, please, because we can hear you. Thank you. I would like to introduce our coach for today. His name is Richard Hansen. He is the My MBC program manager with the Division of Talent and Development with the Office of Human Capital. Dr. Richard Hansen has worked for CMS since November 2014. Richard is a retired Air Force personnel and has spent time at Maida Beach Air Force Base, Davis Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona, and finished his Air Force career in the Michigan Air Force National Guard at Battle Creek, Michigan. Before arriving at CMS, Rich worked at the Defense Logistics Agency, Logistics Information Service at Battle Creek, Michigan. As a cataloger, trainer, and branch chief, he left DLA, Defense Logistics Agency, and was managing the training branch at the Logistics Information Services. Currently, he is the lead at the CMS Employee Development Center for My EDC. Please give a warm welcome for Richard, and also please remember to mute your phones. Thank you.
Thank you, Goki. Appreciate it. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody on the phone as well. Everybody on the phone, this is going to be an interactive session. So we ask that you keep your phones muted. But if you have something to say, by all means, unmute your phone and jump in. We're going to hopefully get a little bit loud at a couple of points. I want people to have a little bit of excitement. And if I ask a question, I ask you to raise your hand. It's going to sound kind of funny, but people at home, people on the phone, raise your hand too. And maybe say yes. But it keeps you interactive. It keeps you engaged in the discussion. Who here is on a team? People at home should be raising their hands too. How many different teams? So tell me here, how many different teams are people on?
About 3.
3?
I'm on 2.
2? 3 or 4. Somebody on the phone want to unmute their phone and tell us how many teams you guys are on?
3.
Okay,
4.
4?
3.
All right. Average seems to be about 3. I know I'm on 4 that I can readily remember. I might be on a couple more that I don't know about. But I know I'm on at least 4. Who wants to get better at being a team member? People at home should be raising their hands too. Should want to get better at being a team member. Okay, it's up there. So by the end of today's Lunch and Learn, you'll be able to understand what a team is and tips to develop and improve your team skills. So, what's a team? A team is a group of people united to achieve a goal too large for an individual to achieve. Teamwork, teamwork is the combined action of a group of people. You might be on a team. You're there to help. You're there to work with other people to do something bigger than yourself. So remember that as we go through this today. If you're on a team, you're going to recognize these 4 stages. If you've been on a large team and you've been on a team that's gone for a distance for a period of time, you're going to recognize. Hello?
Okay.
Could people please mute their phones? Thank you. So you're going to recognize these stages: forming, storming, norming, and performing. So the forming stage, it's high energy. Everybody's excited. You really want to be there. You really want to get to work. You're glad to meet new people. You're clarifying your roles and responsibilities, establishing ground rules. You really want to get to work. You get to the storming stage. Storming stage is a little bit rough and a little bit chaotic. Now you start running into interpersonal conflict. You're questioning decisions about what the team should do. You're questioning leadership sometimes. And this is going to generate some conflict and some anger. You're not going to always want to go to the team when the team is in the storming stage. And you have to recognize the storming stage because it's very important that you get through there. Once you get through the storming stage, I was on a team that we met once every quarter in person for a year and a half. We met every quarter in person, different place in the United States. Every time we met, about the first half hour, we went through forming and storming. Every time we met, we had to get through those 2 stages because we just met in person so frequently. Once we got through that first half hour and rehashed everything we had already rehashed 6 meetings ago, we finally got to the point of norming. When you get to norming, everything's calm. You're going to work, you figure out ways to get along, you're doing your job, you're concentrating on tasks, you want to be there, you feel happy to be there. Then you get to performing. This is where you want to ultimately get to. There's a calm but a steady breeze. You really enjoy going. You like the people you work with. You like your team members. You have fun on that team. You deal with conflicts as they arise, and you're very proud of the successes that you have. You do something that's recognized by leadership, you feel good about it. You're very happy about it. So as you're thinking about teams that you're on, think about these stages. Think about where you're at on that team, where you are personally. Your team could be in the norming stage. You could still be stuck in the storming stage because you're not happy about something. So you have to make sure you can work through that. But think about these stages and where you're at. So why should you want to improve your team skills? It's not just an open question. Why do you want to improve your team skills? Give me some reasons. Even on the phone, unmute the phone and tell me why you want to improve your team skills.
So we can provide value to the project deliverables we're working on.
Okay, provide value to the project deliverables you're working on. What else?
Achieve the goal of the team.
Achieve the goal of the team. What else?
Create a more pleasant work environment.
Create a more pleasant work environment. That's a big one. I know I want to be in a nice
The
place.
networking tool?
Did you say network with people?
Networking tool, yes.
Yep, networking. A good team.
Better performance.
Better performance. There you go.
Better performance for the organization or the work group.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one more time?
Better performance not just for the individual, but for the organization or the work group as a whole.
Good, okay. So, developing your skills. This is some of the other reasons why. Increased program needs, changing legislation, new technologies, all of that continually challenges an organization, and it puts pressures on the organizations. To succeed, organizations must adapt quickly and effectively. Everyone, and I'll say it again, everyone, not just senior leadership, everyone must think in an organization-wide thought. Not just, and we'll cover something a little bit later on, but not just what is your job, not just your little focus. Think organization-wide. All employees must work to ensure maximum flexibility, often playing multiple fluid roles. Remember those terms, multiple fluid roles. I'll say that in a different way in a little bit later on. Multiple fluid roles to help the organization develop its capacity for continual renewal. Leadership skills are no longer required of just leaders. HHS and CMS looks at everybody as a leader. That's the view of leadership of HHS. Everybody is a leader. Everybody has the opportunity to lead. Maybe it's leading yourself, but everybody has the opportunity to lead, or a small team. So, how do you improve team skills? Again, that's not an open question. How do you improve team skills? What do you do? Come to sessions like this? Yep. Anybody on the phone?
Gain consensus.
Gain consensus, okay.
Active listening skills.
Active listening skills. What else do you do? How else do you improve team skills?
Well, I think everybody.
Participating.
By participating?
Doing your part.
Doing your part?
Hi,
Somebody else was going to say something.
This is somebody on the phone. I think one of the things when you are really looking at improving a team is to remember that people make up the team and that people have different ways of working. And so it's good to learn, like the Myers-Briggs, different things to understand how people learn, how they function, and how you can sort of learn the value that everybody brings to the team.
Did you read my charts ahead of time? We'll get to that in a little bit.
No, this is Karen Williams. In addition, you have a lot of cultural differences, and you have to try to understand people's cultural interests and why they may not be interested in doing certain things.
Yep, that's a good strategy. What else? Anybody else in the room? All right.
Can I just add?
Sure.
The big R, respect.
Respect.
That's a
Yep.
big one from everyone.
All right. So this says Team CMS. So people on the phone, unmute your phones. People in the room, really want you to say this with me. Say it nice and loud. Team CMS.
Team CMS.
Oh, come on, one more time. Team CMS.
Team CMS.
One more time. Team CMS.
Team CMS.
Team
CMS.
So some of the strategies here, so guys on the phone, you can mute your phones again. Some of the strategies here are take action to improve personal effectiveness, embrace team goals, acknowledge the benefits of other team members, and manage horizontally. So we'll go through each one of these. Team CMS. Let's go. Every time you see Team CMS, I want to hear it. Team CMS.
Team
Team CMS.
Team CMS.
There you go. So for the T, take action to improve personal effectiveness. There's 3 areas: communication, maintain credibility, and self-analysis. Communication. We all know communication is the foundation of good teamwork. You have to be able to communicate with each other to be able to have a good team. So make sure you're using good listening skills, that you're not listening to somebody and judging what they're saying, that you're not typing an email while you're trying to listen to somebody. make sure that you're doing good listening skills. Somebody on the phone, could you please mute your phone? We can hear your papers. Thank you. The right medium for the delivery of the message. Make sure you deliver it in the right way, whether that's an email, an instant message, a text, or actually getting up and expending energy and going to talk to somebody face to face. Sometimes that's a difficult conversation, but you have to have it. So use the right medium. Sometimes an email is okay to extend some maybe not so pleasant news, but sometimes you really do need to get up and go talk to that person. You guys mind if I take my coat off? It's hot in here. My glasses are falling off my nose. Thank you. And watch your nonverbals. So, Bernie and Caroline will probably recognize this. When I sit in a meeting or I sit in a chair, this is how I sit. To me, I'm very comfortable. I cross my arms, I sit on my belly, I'm very comfortable. I'm listening, I'm engaged, but what do you see? When I sit like this, what do you see?
Closed.
I'm closed. I'm closed off. I'm probably mad. I don't care, I don't want to be there.
But at least you're not looking at your phone.
Yeah. But in my mind, I'm engaged in the conversation. I'm comfortable. And this is how I'm comfortable. So recognize your nonverbal cues. Recognize your facial features as well. I was talking to my son who's doing very, very well at work. He gave a briefing to a bunch of senior executives. When he was done, he got some feedback from his manager. His manager said, "You sigh a lot." Somebody said something to him, he went, so he sighs a lot. And the manager said, "You kind of roll your eyes too." So those were his nonverbals that he got very good constructive feedback on, that he now knows that he needs to work on them. I know sitting like this doesn't always work. So I have to be very conscious of my nonverbal. 60% of your message is nonverbal. So I have to learn to be able to sit up, lean onto the table, and show that I'm engaged in the meeting, show that I want to be there. So keep that in your mind. Your nonverbals are a big part of your communication. So whose responsibility is communication? Everyone's responsibility is to communication. Everybody, not just the sender, not just the receiver, maybe not even just the bystander, but it's everybody's responsibility, especially in a meeting, to have that good communication. Credibility. Be flexible. We talked earlier about fluid roles, multiple roles. This one right here. It's not my job. That attitude coming from being in prior leadership to here, it's not my job, just kind of makes me shake my shoulders. Talked about the organization has to be fluid. People in the organization have to be fluid, have to be flexible, have to do multiple jobs, maybe multiple roles. That's all. That it's not my job attitude blocks all of that. So you really need to take a step back, think about what you're doing, and work towards helping the organization. And I'm not going to get into all of the position description and all of that type of stuff, but those are discussions with your manager. But think about that, it's not my job attitude. Think about how that might affect how you're viewed and how losing that attitude can really help you move forward. Review your actions and your request of others. So think about what you're asking people to do, and this flows right into the next one. Don't ask anyone to do anything you're not willing to do. If you're not willing to stay a little bit later, if you're not willing to come in a little bit earlier, it's kind of hard to ask other people on your team to do the same thing. So think about what you're asking them to do and think about how you would do it and what you would do. And readily admit when you've made a mistake. This goes a long way. And there's a couple, another chart later on where we'll talk about the mistake in being on a team. But readily admit when you've made a mistake. Don't stand back, sit back, try to hide it, It's eventually going to come out, and then everybody's going to know about it. And it's not going to come out in a light that's going to shine on you the best. So when you make a mistake, make sure you readily admit it. And then self-analysis. Invite constructive feedback. And I say constructive. A lot of people like to give feedback. Man, that was terrible. Well, tell me what was terrible about it, but tell me in a positive way. Tell me how I can get better at it. So you have to understand yourself. What are you good at? Your personal strengths. What are you good at? By understanding what you're good at, you'll also recognize what you need to improve on. And then take steps to work on improving that. Improving those skills that you need. Just a selfless plug, the CMS Leadership Institute offers a lot of classes to help you get better at some skills and to understand yourself. We do a strength deployment inventory and a Myers-Briggs test. So look at our catalog and look for classes that you can take to help you improve yourself. Any questions so far before I continue to ramble on? Anybody on the phone have any questions? Any comments?
Well, I have something to augment what you said.
Okay.
Hi, this is somebody on the phone. I
Yes.
just wanted to comment that a couple of observations that I've had at CMS with regard to teams is sometimes there are folks on a team that are less expressive, but they're really good at certain tasks. And sometimes they might get stuck with the not so fun part of the team tasks, list of tasks. And I think it's really beneficial for the overall team if you rotate around those tasks that may not be as exciting or fun. Just because someone's really good at it doesn't mean they like it. And I think we could keep teams more consistent and with regard to the overall work product, as well as not have so much high turnover if we rotated, the specific subtasks around as it might make sense within the team.
This is someone on the phone too, and I agree.
Good, good. Again, looks like you read my charts ahead of time. There's a little bit of a discussion about team members a little bit later on. Anybody else on the phone? Anybody?
Yes, I just said that I agree with her comment.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody in the room want to bring anything else up? All right, here we go. Get ready. What do we say? Team CMS. Oh, come on, one more time. Everybody on the phone, too. Team CMS.
Team CMS.
There you go. All right. So embrace team goals, objectives, and values. This one covers commitment, mission-minded, and set priorities. So commitment. This chart has a lot on it. I'm not going to go through this chart. What I want you to do and take away from this chart is look at it. Where are you? Being on a team, where are you? Are you at grudging compliance, where you do not see the benefits of the vision, but also does not want to lose your job? So you go, kind of grudgingly do what you have to do. Maybe not the best quality, but it's enough to get by. Are you at enrollment? Wants it? Will do whatever can be done within the spirit of the law. That's a good team to be on. People are engaged. People want to be there. They're working. They may not necessarily be willing to come in an hour early or stay an hour late, or they may not be necessarily willing to pick up another team member's work if something happens to that person or they need to be off. But it's still a pretty good team to be on. It's pretty effective. They're working hard. They're getting things done. The team that I want to be on is the one at commitment. Wants it, will make it happen. That team and those team members will be there an hour early without you telling them. They'll stay an hour late without you telling them. They'll even buy pizza for each other for lunch to make sure everybody stays there and gets the work done. They'll help another teammate out. Somebody needs to take some time off for something, they'll pick up that person's work. That's the team I want to be on. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I don't want you to say any names. I just want you to walk away and think about it. Where are you on this chart? On the teams that you're on, where are you? And where is your team? Because you can have an entire team made up of formal compliance. On the whole, sees the benefits of the vision, will do what's expected and no more. Your whole team could be made up of people in formal compliance. You go there, you do what you got to do, have a little bit of discussion maybe, turn around and go home. That's it. It's not a whole lot of fun to be on. So think about the teams that you're on and where you're at. Mission-minded. The big thing here is keep the big picture in view. Sometimes teams start chasing little things here and there, and you end up going down a rabbit hole. You don't know why you followed it. You don't know how you got down there, but you're down there, and you realize it didn't help your team. It's not what you needed to do. It's not what you were looking for. And when you've recognized that you're starting to go down a rabbit hole, take a step back and think, okay, do we really need to go down this direction? How is this helping our goals? What are our goals, and how do we get back to getting to our goals? So keep that big picture view in mind. Bless you, bless you. Strategic goals. Bear with me. I'm going to read something here from our administrator. I don't know how to say your name, so I'm not even going to try to butcher it. So our CMS administrator sent out an email of May 12th. Secretary Price outlined a plan for optimizing and reorganizing our work, including reimagining how all of us at HHS can better serve the American people. The 6 principles of this effort are engagement, empowerment, service, performance, stewardship, and sustainability. The work we do here at CMS aligns perfectly with these HHS principles, and working together, I believe we can support and achieve them by striving to fulfill one overarching goal, putting people first. Moving forward, this will guide all of our work. We'll succeed in this effort by meeting 4 strategic goals: empowering patients and doctors to make decisions about their health care, ushering in a new era of state flexibility and local leadership, supporting innovative approaches to improving quality, accessibility, and affordability, and improving the CMS customer experience. Taken together, our 4 strategic goals will help ensure that we always put people first in everything we do at CMS and in our healthcare. I'm sure there'll be more coming out about these goals. That was the email she sent out on May 12th, so I wanted you to make sure you had that, especially in this team building session. Set priorities. So make sure you have clear and concise goals. Everybody's heard of SMART goals. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. I forgot it. It just wasn't there. So make sure your priorities are set, and make sure you understand the goals that everybody needs to go for. All right, here we go. Get ready. Third time. Team CMS. There you go. One more time. People on the phone. Team CMS.
Team CMS.
All right. Thank you. There's a little bit of delay. That's good. So this one is acknowledge the benefits of other team members, knowledge and experience. And the areas here are celebrate diversity and make the most of the resources. So celebrate diversity. So having a diverse team, having people of different ages, different generations, different cultures, different backgrounds, having a diverse team helps your team do better, if that's proper English, but it helps your team do better. You'll have different experiences, different knowledge. Somebody had mentioned before, different work styles, different values. All of this you get from the diversity of your team. If you have a team made up of people my age that look like me, that's not a very, very diverse team. We're all gonna have a lot of the same types of experiences and the same thought processes. So make sure you have different people on your team. Make sure you have not a lot, but make sure you have people of different, just got myself lost. I went down a rabbit hole. Make sure you have a diverse team. That's the easiest way to say it. I was going to try to explain something really long, but make sure you have a diverse team. You know, the baby boomers, they have a certain work ethic. I'm a baby boomer. I'm right at the very edge of it, but I'm a baby boomer. So I have a little bit of a work ethic of a baby boomer and a Generation X, because I understand the hard work, but I also want it now. So I'm on that edge. So, you know, I have both of those. So I understand it. You need to work hard to work through and get something done, but also I want it now. So have people in different backgrounds. It really does help your team move along. Make the most of the resources. So somebody had mentioned others, you know, assume others have ideas worth including and make people feel included. Being included in a team, just because you're on the team, somebody else had said, you know, you need to make sure you listen to people on the team. Just because you're on the team doesn't mean that, you know, you're always going to be doing things on the team. Make sure you include people. Have a brainstorming session. Some people don't like to shout out things. I know, Bernie, that's not your problem. Some people don't like to shout out things. Give them a pad of paper, a sticky note. Have them write it down. They might not want to get up and stick it on the board either. Go around and grab it, and then stick it on the board. But include people. You're having a discussion. Sometimes you have to be very pointed and look at them and say, Joan, what do you have to say on this topic? Bill, what are your thoughts on this? So you really have to work hard to include everybody in the team. That's what makes the team better as well. People feeling that they're included, that their ideas and their inputs matter and are valued. Here we go. Team CMS. On the phone, one more time. Team CMS.
Team CMS.
There we go. All right. So this one is consider multiple perspectives, make shared processes work, and share accountability for realizing success.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do about people? Yeah, what do you do about people that are like really apathetic? They just don't want to do anything. They don't want to participate. They're just always negative.
So as a team member, there's a couple things you can do. You can have that discussion with them. You can have that crucial conversation with them and talk to them about how important it is that they engage in the team. So you can have that one-on-one conversation with them. You can explain the goals. You can explain the values of the team. You can explain the unwritten rules of the team. I forgot what term that is. The norms. You can explain the norms of the team and have that discussion with them. And it might take one or two discussions to get them to come along. As a team member, you're unfortunately a little bit limited into what you can do. The next step then is for the manager to recognize that. The manager then has to have that discussion with the employee. I've seen people get removed from teams as well just because they realize that they don't want to be there, they're not a good fit on that team. So as an employee and as a team member and a peer, you can have that discussion with them. But you need to make sure you keep it professional. You keep it keep the emotion out of it. Explain to them, here's what I see happening, and here's how your behavior is not helping the team. One of the things I learned somewhere was called situation, behavior, and impact. Here's the situation. Here's what happened in the meeting today. This was your behavior in the meeting, and this is the impact that it had on that meeting. It takes the emotion out of it, takes your emotion out of it, takes their emotion out of it, and you discuss just what people saw, basically the facts. This way, that person then can say, okay, yeah, I did not behave properly in that meeting. And if you have that discussion with them about how they feel about being on a team, then you can start to work with them and help them come along to be a better team member. Does that help?
Well, I wish it was that easy to resolve.
Yeah,
I think that there are just a lot of negative Nancys, and they thrive on that.
Yes, I'm not going to argue that point. Caroline had her hand raised.
I might take a slightly different approach. In my experience as a manager and a team member, I think a lot can be said for developing rapport and loyalty. I think people will do things out of a sense of loyalty to you personally that they might not feel towards the mission of the team. And so if you find yourself in a team where it's The best case is that people are formally complying, or it goes worse, it's non-compliance or apathy, which is a little bit of what I'm hearing. We teach a course called 7 Habits, and we talk about putting deposits in people's emotional bank account. And so I think that you can go a long way to develop rapport and think about if you're putting deposits in another person's emotional bank account. Because you got somebody on the team whose their attitude is, it's not my job, that's toxic. And all those negative things, they're really infectious. I mean, good attitudes are infectious, but bad attitudes are infectious too. So how can you start putting deposits in other people's emotional bank accounts so they want to reciprocate? So that's what the whole idea of reciprocity, and they're willing, if you're willing to do for them, well, they're willing to do for you. So that's a little step you can take immediately to help people feel compelled to want to be part of the team. Because it is hard, you're right. It's not so easy just to talk the person into wanting to comply. It's really a deeply motivational thing. So that's been my experience. I've had people on teams working for me who came in when they were having a real bad day because they wanted to support me personally. And it takes time to build that kind of rapport in a team. It can take a couple of years. That's it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks. So I had a quick comment too. Thank you. I wholeheartedly agree with what our colleague just described. I also think that there is a small percentage of people with that sort of negative tone that don't realize how they're coming across to other people. And I think, you know, that while our first colleague who said she wished it was as simple as you know, just helping to motivate them a little bit more. I think that there is probably a small percentage of people who could be helped, you know, turn around their tone if you just brought it to their attention, because there could be like other things in their personal lives that they're carrying, it's spilling over that really doesn't have as much to do with the project.
Yep, I agree with
I
that.
have a follow-up question.
Yes.
I agree with what everyone has said, and those points are very well taken. But what do you do whenever you're inviting someone to kind of step out of their box and their response is they're inviting you to meet with the labor representative because here we're all unionized, and that's a big problem that we're facing. So what do you do in those situations?
That's a good question. Kind of looking at my peers back here.
Well, so my suggestion, this is Caroline Ingalls, my suggestion is to build rapport and loyalty and to be influential outside of the realm of the legalities of where you are. So building that rapport, and don't make it a formal conversation so that you build the esprit de corps and the goodwill just kind of organically, and it doesn't rise to the level of bringing work in or bringing the union in because you're not doing anything official or formal or scary. I mean, it is scary to approach someone and give them feedback if you're not in their formal feedback loop, and I don't know, it's a very, very delicate situation. Does that make sense? Can you influence before it gets risen to that level of bringing LERT in or union?
That totally makes sense to me, and I hear what you're saying, but unfortunately, the employees, you know, not all of them, of course, but some of them, even if you're trying to have a very informal conversation with them, you know, again, to encourage them to understand the importance of the work group's goals, etc., they're still quick to throw that out there. And so it just kind of leaves everyone at a standstill, unfortunately.
Yep. I have something to say.
Yes.
I was thinking, I agree with what Caroline said, but sometimes some people don't feel comfortable. So I think it's about comfort level in regards to how you work together. And that's not something you just, that's something you build over time. So if you become comfortable with someone, it's easier to resolve that before going official.
That's exactly what I meant.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's more figuring out, okay, why are some people uncomfortable with the team? Is there an issue that has not been dealt with over time that needs to be dealt with so that they can feel comfortable just speaking their mind and not anybody having to judge them on it, so that it can be resolved and looking at different perspectives, especially when you're having generational workforce or diverse workforce of people from different countries who are now here and stuff like that. So looking at the perspective from how they see it, not just what you think it should be. And that helps resolve issues before it goes to any formal resolution.
Thank you.
Right, and then there's the people that are retiring in place, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Yes, the people that are retired in place are sometimes hard to motivate, but it's you know, it's always worth the effort to try to get a team member to come along to be a better team member on the team. Yes.
I'd like to add one thing to that. So to me, it seemed we're talking from a team level perspective. And I think Caroline and some other folks have mentioned more from a managerial perspective. So from my experience at CMS, I think it'd be beneficial if you take those things in consideration before you form a team. Because you always have new projects, you have a cultural underline here, you have people may have been working together 10, 15 years. They may do things outside of work that other colleagues may not participate in. It's not required, but those are undertones that's within the dynamic of that team.
Right.
So it's not just dealing with, hey, I'm gonna come to work and I'm gonna do my job and I'm at the confident, I'm at the peak of my career and I'm all in. It doesn't matter how much you in if the folks who have not structured that team have considered your dedication to that work. So they may prefer, I'll use my colleague for example, this young lady to be the lead, but she may not have the skill set or the mindset to be that. But they have conditioned it so this is the next best thing. So to me, my challenge is, even with having all this knowledge and being at that competent level, is how do you cope and deal with those mechanisms when you have cultural norms that's not really, I guess that's where that union part come in, if you may throw that out, that's not really beneficial to the work environment, because you have a subculture within a culture.
Exactly, and that subculture that you called it is true, and it can be very influential into forming teams or how teams operate. So that's a good point.
So you're right.
Can I just make one comment? Just having been on both sides of the fence in terms of being an employee and then having supervised individuals, that it would also be useful to take into consideration why they feel that way. And maybe someone has already said that. But part of that sometimes is based off of their perception of their coworkers who they might feel like aren't really doing their job, but no one is saying anything to them. And so now they feel like they're working hard, and they're the ones that someone is asking them to do even more because they see how well of an employee or, how strong they are in one area or another. And when you have that dynamic within your team and you don't find out why they feel like that's not their job, that you can quickly say, oh, well, they're not, doing their job, and they're really bringing a negative flavor to the team, but there's already a negative flavor that's underlying tone to them even making the comment. And I agree.
Right. So you were looking for something.
I was looking for feedback or some advice on how do you handle that, because, I'm fairly still new to CMS. It's been about 3-4 years. And I can't teach it. So it's a totally different culture. So to me, it's an underlying culture. So you can be a star in the team. You can take on every work or everything that your man throw at you, right? But you have to manage that within the subculture.
Right.
So the underlying tone, even you have all these storm and norm and form, and you go through that whole process, there's still a subculture underneath all that.
Right.
So to me, the layers that's underneath that you're really dealing with is the unspoken issues.
Right, and that's the whole part of when you get into the storming part of the group. That's where a lot of that will present itself, and you'll realize, okay, these two people know each other and they know each other very well outside of work, and they're going to work well together. This person is new and isn't fitting in quite right because they're just a little different. So during the storming stage is when a lot of this comes out. So if you're looking for advice on how to get through that, you need to know yourself first. So again, I'm going to do a selfless plug for the Leadership Institute, the MBTI, really the MBTI and the SDI, the Strength Deployment Inventory, to learn about you is huge. It really did. I just recently did one, and I was amazed as to how I appear to people. It really did open my eyes up quite a bit. That would be something maybe for your team to take as well. That'd be something that.
Would it be okay to share a comment with the gentleman who just spoke? I just would recommend, because I've been in that situation before, that even if there are people on the team that you have determined know each other and have worked together in previous, ventures or projects, I would still volunteer to help. And I think it's a way for them to get to know you and a way for you to continue to learn. So I would just say, hey, can I help you with X, Y, or Z? Just taking a small part. And I think it also sends the message that, I'm here, I'm a member of the team, and, I expect to do my share.
Does that help? We can talk more if you want. That's fine.
Well, in
We've
7
got.
Habits, we talk about your sphere of influence versus your sphere of concern. And so sometimes when people they want action in their sphere of concern, they get frustrated because they don't have influence in their sphere of concern, they only have concern, and so that sometimes you have to choose your battle.
And that's what I'll decide. So,
Choosing your battle.
choosing my battle.
Sometimes you have to get there. So we got 5 minutes left. The last few charts, and I'm not going to go through the last few charts because I want to do just a tiny bit of a wrap up. But the last few charts are really about when you make a mistake or your team is working together, ask for help. If you need help making a decision, if you need help with resources, if you need help with structuring the team, ask for help. It doesn't show that you're weak. It actually helps build up your team. It helps leadership look at you thinking, okay, this person understands where their team is at, understands what their team needs, understands what they need, and it builds a rapport between you and your team and you and your leadership. So ask for help. And then if you make a mistake, this is the last big part. If you make a mistake, again, I mentioned before, make sure you get that mistake. You verbalize that mistake. You say, I made a mistake. There's teams that the first thing they do in their meeting is they talk about what went wrong this week. What happened? They don't point fingers at anybody because if you make a mistake and you point it at, you're not going to want to bring that mistake out. So they ask, what went wrong this week? How do we fix it? How do we make sure it doesn't happen again? And what did we learn from it? The big thing is, what do you take away from it? What did you learn from that mistake? And the more you can learn from that mistake and the more you can bring it out to the team ahead of time so that everybody's aware of it and learn from it, the better your team is and the more you can move. So just a little recap. I don't have anything on charts. So just a little recap. We talked a little bit about what a team was. We talked about 4 strategies that you can use to improve yourself and improve your team as well. So just give me one last team CMS. Everybody on the phone, mute your phones. I'll give you a second to unmute your phones. So give me one last team CMS. Here we go. Team CMS.
Team CMS.
Team CMS.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for holding the class.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well done. Well
Thank
done,
you.
sir.
Thank you.
I like the repetition. I like the 4 strategies.